What would you do if danger came to your door wearing the face of someone who needed saving? In the untold corners of American history, some choices were made in whispers, some loyalties forged in silence. Kansas, 1882. A territory where a man's land was his kingdom, until the night a woman with blood on her hands crawled into his barn. "Give her up, rancher. We know she's in there." They said she killed 5 men. They called her an outlaw, a monster. What they didn't know was the truth. And sometimes the truth is worth dying for. Stay with me until the final chapter. What you're about to witness isn't just another Western tale. It's the story they didn't want told, about a black rancher who stood against a mob for justice, and the woman who changed everything. Before we ride deeper into this powerful story, I need you to do something right now. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Why? Because here at the Black Rancher, we're uncovering the hidden stories of black heroes who helped shape the American frontier, stories deliberately buried by those who wrote our history books. If you believe everyone deserves to see themselves in America's great narrative, share this video now. These forgotten tales of courage, dignity, and defiance deserve to be told. Subscribe now, and let's preserve this legacy together. Now let's journey back to 1882, to the rain-soaked plains of Kansas where our story begins. Sunflower County, Kansas, April 1882. Isaiah Washington pulled his hat lower against the driving rain as he secured the last of the barn doors. Spring storms in Kansas came with little warning and twice the fury of those back in Tennessee. But the land here, his land, was worth the hardship. The Rising Sun Ranch wasn't the biggest spread in Sunflower County, but the 800 acres of rolling grassland, timber, and clear running creek had been paid for with 12 years of back-breaking work after Isaiah had gained his freedom. At 37, the scars on his back had faded, but the memories that put them there never would. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the farmyard for a brief, brilliant moment. His 3 ranch hands had left for town before the storm hit, leaving Isaiah alone with his thoughts and the howling wind. He didn't mind the solitude. In a world that rarely offered peace to men like him, his ranch was the one place he answered to no one. He was halfway to the main house when he heard it, a crash from inside the barn he'd just secured. Isaiah paused, rain soaking through his heavy canvas coat. Probably just the wind knocking something over, but he couldn't afford to lose livestock or feed. With a sigh, he turned back. The barn door creaked as he pulled it open just enough to slip inside. The familiar smells of hay, horses, and leather greeted him as he reached for the lantern hanging by the door. His hand found the matchbox in his pocket, striking one against the rough wood. The tiny flame cast long shadows through the barn as he lit the lantern. "Hello?" Isaiah called out, his deep voice echoing against the walls. "Anyone in here?" The horses shifted nervously in their stalls. Something was wrong. Isaiah moved deeper into the barn, lantern held high. A stack of hay bales had toppled near the back wall. As he approached, his boot connected with something metal that skittered across the wooden floor. A spur, but not one of his. The barrel of a Colt .45 emerged from behind the fallen hay before he saw her face. "Don't move." Her voice was steady despite the visible tremor in her hands. She was young, mid-20s perhaps, with dark hair plastered to her face from the rain. Her clothes were men's riding gear, soaked through and muddied. But it was the blood staining her right shoulder that caught Isaiah's attention. "You're hurt," he said simply, keeping his voice calm. "I'm fine." She adjusted her grip on the pistol, wincing slightly. "I just need a place to wait out the storm. I'll be gone by morning." Isaiah studied her. In addition to the shoulder wound, her face was bruised, a split in her lip still fresh enough to be bleeding. She'd been in a fight, and recently. "That needs tending," he nodded toward her shoulder. "Or you won't make it till morning." "Why would you help me?" Suspicion narrowed her eyes. "You don't know me. I know you're bleeding on my barn floor. I know there's a storm that'll drown a person caught out in it." Isaiah set the lantern down slowly. "And I know what it's like to need shelter when the world wants you dead." Her expression flickered with something, recognition perhaps, before hardening again. "They'll come looking, men on horses. If they find me here, they'll kill you too." Isaiah's face remained impassive, though the words sent a chill through him that had nothing to do with his wet clothes. "Who are you?" She lowered the gun, just slightly. "They're calling me the Lady Gunslinger in the papers. My real name is Catherine Blackwood." Isaiah had heard the stories. Whispers in town about a female outlaw who'd shot her way through a saloon in Wichita, leaving 5 men dead. The bounty was substantial. Every gun hand and lawman in 3 territories would be looking for her. "Did you do what they say you did?" he asked. Catherine's eyes held his, unflinching. "Yes, and I'd do it again." Outside, thunder rolled across the prairie. Isaiah made the decision that would change everything. "Let's get you to the house before you bleed to death." The main house of the Rising Sun Ranch stood as a testament to Isaiah Washington's determination. 2 stories of solid oak and fieldstone built by his own hands, board by board. As he helped Catherine across the rain-slick yard, lightning illuminated the wide porch and sturdy walls, a fortress against more than just the elements. Inside, the hearth glowed with banked coals. Isaiah added wood, coaxing the fire back to life while Catherine stood dripping on the rug, her pistol still gripped loosely at her side. "You'll need to take that jacket off so I can see the wound," Isaiah said, moving to a cabinet where he kept medical supplies. Catherine hesitated, her eyes darting to the windows. "No one will see you here," Isaiah assured her. "Nearest neighbor is 3 miles east, and they won't be traveling in this storm." Slowly, she shrugged out of the sodden jacket, revealing a blood-soaked shirt beneath. The bullet had torn through the meat of her shoulder, missing bone, but leaving a nasty furrow. Isaiah worked in silence, cleaning and bandaging the wound. He'd treated worse in his time, both during the war and in the years that followed. When he finished, he handed her a clean shirt of his, far too large but dry. "Change into that. I'll make coffee." When he returned from the kitchen, Catherine sat before the fire in his oversized shirt, her wet clothes steaming on the hearthstones. The Colt rested in her lap. Her eyes, when they met his, held the wariness of a cornered animal. "Thank you," she said, accepting the steaming mug he offered. Isaiah settled into the chair opposite her. "Why don't you tell me what really happened in Wichita? The papers rarely get the whole truth." Catherine stared into the fire. "I was a school teacher in a little town called Harmony near the Missouri border." Isaiah raised an eyebrow but said nothing. "I had a student, Mary Ellen, 12 years old, smart as a whip." Catherine's voice grew tight. "Her father died last winter, leaving her mother with 4 children and a small farm. A man named Harlan Pike offered to help. By spring, he was sharing her mother's bed." She took a sip of coffee, her hands steady now. "Mary Ellen started coming to school with bruises. Then she stopped coming altogether. When I went to check on her, her mother said she'd been sent to relatives in St. Louis. But you didn't believe it," Isaiah said quietly. "No. I found Mary Ellen locked in a root cellar, half-starved. Pike had been—" She couldn't finish the sentence. "Her mother was too afraid to stop him, so I took Mary Ellen and ran." The fire popped and hissed in the silence that followed. "Pike and his men caught up to us in Wichita. They surrounded us at the hotel where we were staying." Catherine's eyes, when she looked up, burned with a fierce light. "I got Mary Ellen out the back way, put her on a train east with all the money I had. Then I walked into the saloon where Pike and his men were drinking." "And you killed them," Isaiah finished. 5 shots. 5 men." She said it without pride or remorse. "The law calls it murder. I call it justice." Isaiah nodded slowly. He understood justice that the law didn't recognize. "Where's the girl now?" "With my sister in Chicago, if I can make it there." She left the thought unfinished. Outside, the storm raged on, rain lashing against the windows. But it was another storm they needed to worry about, the one that would arrive with the dawn, carrying men with guns and ropes. "Get some rest," Isaiah said, rising from his chair. "You're safe tonight." As he turned to leave the room, Catherine's voice stopped him. "Why are you helping me? You could turn me in, collect the reward." Isaiah paused in the doorway, his broad shoulders silhouetted against the hallway lamp. "I was 12 when a man bought my mother, but not me. Some debts you can't repay. You can only pass forward what you wish someone had done for you. The storm passed sometime in the night, leaving behind a world washed clean. Isaiah rose before the sun, as was his habit, and found Catherine already awake in the kitchen. She'd found his pantry and coffee pot, and the smell of fresh brew filled the room. "Hope you don't mind," she said, pouring him a cup. Her color was better this morning, though pain still tightened the corners of her mouth when she moved her injured arm. Isaiah nodded his thanks, studying her in the grey light of dawn. Without the mud and rain, Catherine Blackwood was a striking woman. Not conventionally beautiful, her jaw was too strong, her gaze too direct for the fashionable tastes of the day. But there was something compelling in her face, a combination of intelligence and resolve that few possessed. "Your men will be returning today?" she asked. "Likely by noon. Jackson, Cooper, and Moses, good men, but I won't speak for how they'd react to harboring a wanted woman." Catherine's hand moved instinctively to where her pistol would have been. "I should leave now, then." "First light is when they'll be watching the roads. Wait until—" Isaiah's words cut off as he glanced out the kitchen window. In the distance, a plume of dust rose from the east road. "Someone's coming." They moved to the front room where the view was better. 6 riders approached at a steady pace, still a mile out but closing. The morning sun glinted off tin stars on several chests. "Law," Catherine said, her voice flat. Isaiah squinted against the rising sun. "Sheriff Abrams and his deputies, and that's Alan Pike at the back. He was one of Pike's cousins." Catherine's face hardened. "He's just as bad as Harlan was. How many bullets you got left?" "4 in the gun, 6 more in my pocket." Isaiah moved away from the window, his mind racing. 10 bullets won't stop 6 men even if you hit with every shot. I've outrun them before." Catherine retrieved her now dry clothes from where they hung by the hearth, checking her pistol with practiced hands. "And led them straight to my door," Isaiah replied without heat. "They'll tear this place apart looking for you." Their eyes met in silent acknowledgement of the impossible situation. The riders were less than half a mile away now. Isaiah disappeared down the hallway, returning moments later with a Winchester repeating rifle and a second revolver tucked into his belt. "There's a cellar beneath the kitchen pantry. Get down there and stay quiet." "You can't face them alone," Catherine protested. "This isn't your fight. It became my fight when they came to my land." Isaiah checked the Winchester's action. "Besides, I'm not planning to fight if I can help it. Go now. Whatever you hear, stay hidden until I come for you." Reluctantly, Catherine disappeared into the kitchen. Isaiah waited until he heard the soft thump of the cellar door closing before stepping onto the front porch, rifle held casually across his body. The riders slowed as they approached the house, spreading out slightly as they entered the yard. Sheriff Abrams, a heavy-set man with a walrus mustache, raised a hand in greeting. "Morning, Washington." "Sheriff?" Isaiah replied with a nod. "What brings you out this way?" "Tracking a fugitive, woman killer. Evidence suggests she might have passed through these parts during the storm." Abrams shifted in his saddle, his eyes scanning the farmyard. "Did you see anyone unusual last night?" Isaiah leaned on his rifle, the very picture of casual confidence. "Can't say I have. Storm kept me close to the house." From the back of the group, Alan Pike urged his horse forward. Unlike the sheriff, he wore no badge, just a gun belt slung low on his hips. His pale eyes burned with undisguised hatred as they fell on Isaiah. "You expectin' trouble, Washington?" He nodded toward the rifle. "Just being cautious. Lot of strangers passing through lately." Isaiah's gaze was steady, revealing nothing. "Mind if we take a look around?" Abrams asked, though his tone made it clear it wasn't really a question. "Check the barn, outbuildings." "My land, my buildings," Isaiah said evenly. "You got a warrant, Sheriff?" Abrams' face darkened. "Don't need one when I'm pursuing a dangerous fugitive." "Then I reckon we got ourselves a disagreement." Isaiah didn't raise the rifle, but his grip tightened. "I know the law, Sheriff. Even applies to men like me." "You protecting her, boy?" Pike spat, his hand hovering near his pistol. "That murdering whore shot my cousin dead." "I haven't seen any woman," Isaiah replied, "but I don't take kindly to trespassers, badged or otherwise." The tension stretched between them, taut as a bowstring. The deputies exchanged uneasy glances, hands drifting toward their weapons. Sheriff Abrams finally broke the silence. "We'll be back, Washington, with papers that'll let us search every inch of your property." He turned his horse. "And if we find out you've been harboring a fugitive, you'll hang right alongside her." The posse turned and rode away, Pike throwing one last venomous look over his shoulder as they went. Isaiah waited until they disappeared over the rise before letting out a long breath. They'd be back sure as sunrise, and next time they wouldn't leave so easily. Folks, you won't believe where this story is headed next. The tension is building, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If you're enjoying the Black Rancher series, now's the time to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Each week, we bring you powerful stories that history tried to erase, tales of courage, justice, and defiance from the untold American frontier. Remember, your support helps us continue telling these important stories. Like, share, and subscribe to The Black Rancher now, and let's keep this history alive. Now let's get back to Isaiah and Catherine as night falls and danger closes in. By nightfall, Isaiah's ranch hands had returned, bringing news from town. The story of the Lady Gunslinger had grown with each telling. Now they said she'd killed 7 men, not 5, and had wounded 3 others. The reward for her capture had doubled. Every gun in the territory would be looking for Catherine Blackwood. After supper, when the men retired to the bunkhouse, Isaiah brought Catherine up from the cellar. She moved stiffly after hours in the confined space, accepting a plate of food with murmured thanks. "They'll be back tomorrow," Isaiah said, pouring them both whiskey. "With a warrant." Catherine nodded, pushing the food around her plate. "I should go tonight, use the darkness for cover." "And go where?" "They'll have men watching every road, every trail." "I can't stay here." Catherine set down her fork. "I won't bring this trouble to your door." "Trouble's already here." Isaiah took a slow sip of whiskey. "Been here since the day I bought this land. White men don't like seeing a black man succeed. They've been looking for an excuse to take what's mine for years." Catherine studied him across the table. "You built something beautiful here." "I did." Pride colored his voice. "From nothing but empty prairie and a dream no one thought I had a right to. And now I'm putting it at risk." Isaiah met her gaze. "Some things matter more than land." The clock in the hallway ticked away the seconds as they sat in silence, each weighing impossible choices. Finally, Catherine spoke. "There's a third option. I could surrender. Tell them you had no idea who I was." "They'd hang you before you reached the jail," Isaiah said flatly. "Maybe that's the price of justice. I knew what I was doing when I walked into that saloon." Isaiah shook his head. "That's not justice. That's vengeance wearing a lawman's badge." He rose and moved to the window, looking out at the moonlit landscape of his ranch. The decision crystallized in his mind with sudden clarity. "I have a wagon with a false bottom. Used it during the war to move people north." He turned back to Catherine. "If we leave tonight, we can reach the Kansas-Nebraska border by tomorrow evening. I have friends there who can help get you to Chicago." "We?" Catherine's eyebrows rose. "Isaiah, I can't ask you to—" "You didn't ask." His voice was firm. "Some choices make themselves. What about your ranch? Everything you've built?" Isaiah's expression softened. "Land is just dirt if there's no justice on it. My foreman can run things until I return, or until I don't." Catherine stood, moving to stand before him. "Why risk everything for a stranger?" "Maybe you're not a stranger." Isaiah's deep voice dropped lower. "Maybe I recognized something in you the moment you pointed that gun at my head, something I see in my own mirror each morning." Their eyes held, the understanding between them deepening into something neither had expected to find. The moment shattered at the sound of approaching hooves. A single rider coming fast. Isaiah moved quickly to the window, rifle already in hand. In the moonlight, he recognized the silhouette of Moses, his youngest ranch hand. "Here's one of my men," he told Catherine as he went to the door. Moses dismounted before his horse had fully stopped, his young face tight with urgency. "Mr. Washington, sir, they're coming. Pike gathered men from town, more than 20. They're saying you're harboring the killer woman, that you've betrayed your own kind." "When?" Isaiah asked, his voice calm despite the hammering of his heart. Hour, maybe less. They were drinking heavy at the Crossroads Saloon, getting their courage up. Moses glanced nervously at the darkened road. Sheriff's with them, but Pike's leading the charge. Get back to the bunkhouse. Tell Jackson and Cooper to stay inside, no matter what they hear. This isn't their fight. Moses hesitated. Sir, maybe you should... Go now, Moses, that's an order. As the young man reluctantly rode toward the bunkhouse, Isaiah closed the door and turned to find Catherine already buckling on her gun belt. No time for the wagon plan, she said grimly. I'll draw them off. Head south toward Indian Territory. Isaiah shook his head. They'll catch you before you reach the border. He moved purposefully through the house, gathering ammunition, canteens, a small sack of provisions. We stick together. There's an old trapper's trail through the west woods. If we can reach it unseen, it'll take us to the river. Isaiah. Catherine's voice stopped him. When he turned, she stood in the center of the room, resolve etched on her features. I can't let you sacrifice everything you've built. This is my battle. Some battles choose us, Isaiah replied simply. I made my choice when I let you in my door. Before she could argue further, the distant sound of multiple horses reached them. Isaiah moved to the window, his expression hardening. Too late. They're coming up the east road, at least 15 riders. Catherine joined him at the window, her shoulder brushing his as they watched the approaching torches. We're surrounded. Not yet. Isaiah handed her the provisions bag. Get to the barn. There's a dun mare in the third stall, fastest horse I own. Take the creek path behind the barn. It leads to the western trail. And you? I'll buy you time. He checked his rifle one last time. No. Catherine's voice was steel. I won't leave you to die for my crimes. Then we both stay, Isaiah said with finality. And we face them together. Their eyes met in the lamplight, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Two souls who had found each other against impossible odds, now bound by a choice that might cost everything. The approaching riders were close enough now that they could hear shouts, the distinct sound of weapons being readied. If we're making a stand, Catherine said, drawing her Colt, let's make it count. The night erupted in gunfire and shouting. Pike's men surrounded the house, bullets splintering wood and shattering glass. From the windows of the main house, Isaiah and Catherine returned fire. Measured, precise shots meant to keep the attackers at bay rather than kill. Washington! Sheriff Abrams' voice boomed through the darkness. Send out the woman, and this ends now. The law protects all citizens, Sheriff, Isaiah called back. Or is that just for some folks? A volley of bullets answered him, forcing both defenders away from the windows. In the back bedroom, Catherine reloaded her pistol, her hands steady despite the chaos. We can't hold them off forever. We don't need forever, Isaiah replied, peering cautiously around the window frame. Just until dawn. What happens at dawn? Before Isaiah could answer, the front door shuddered under a heavy blow. They were trying to break in. Get to the kitchen, Isaiah directed, moving toward the sound. There's a shotgun under the sink. Catherine hesitated, unwilling to leave him alone, then nodded and disappeared down the hallway. The door frame splintered as Pike and two others crashed through. Isaiah's rifle barked twice, dropping one man with a leg wound. The others dove for cover behind overturned furniture. You're dead, Washington, Pike snarled, firing blindly in Isaiah's direction. You and that murdering bitch. From the kitchen doorway came the distinctive sound of a shotgun being racked. Catherine stood silhouetted against the lamplight, the weapon leveled at Pike's chest. Drop your guns, she commanded, her voice cold as winter iron, or I'll finish what I started in Wichita. Pike froze, recognition dawning on his face. Your cousin raped a child, Catherine said, each word precise and cutting. And you helped him cover it up. I should have killed you too. For a breathless moment, the standoff held. Then Pike's hand twitched toward his gun. The shotgun roared, the blast catching Pike in the shoulder and spinning him against the wall. His companion fled through the shattered door, shouting for the others. Outside, the attackers regrouped, more cautious now that they'd faced resistance. In the lull, Isaiah moved to Catherine's side. You all right? She nodded, her face pale but determined. They'll rush us next. Too many to hold off. Isaiah checked his ammunition. There's a hidden cellar entrance in the kitchen pantry. Leads to a tunnel that comes out in the north field. We can... The sound of galloping horses interrupted him, not leaving, but arriving. Fresh voices joined the chaos outside, followed by authoritative shouts and, surprisingly, the retreat of hoofbeats. "U.S. Marshals!" a commanding voice called. "Sheriff Abrams, order your men to stand down immediately." Isaiah and Catherine exchanged shocked glances as the gunfire ceased. Cautiously, they moved to the shattered front door. In the yard, illuminated by fallen torches and the first hint of dawn, stood a line of mounted men wearing the badges of federal marshals. At their center, a tall black man in a marshal's coat dismounted and approached the house. "Isaiah Washington," he called. "Marshal Daniel Freeman, Kansas Territory. You and Miss Blackwood can come out now. You're under our protection." Warily, weapons still ready, Isaiah and Catherine stepped onto the porch. The marshals had disarmed Pike's remaining men and were placing Sheriff Abrams in handcuffs. "How do you know our names?" Catherine asked, suspicion evident in her stance. Marshal Freeman reached into his coat and withdrew a folded document. "We've been tracking Harlan Pike's operation for months. Child trafficking across state lines, federal crime." He handed the paper to Catherine. "This arrived by telegraph yesterday. Testimony from Mary Ellen Thompson, safely in Chicago. Details everything." Catherine's hand trembled as she unfolded the paper. "She's alive, she's safe, and very brave." Freeman nodded. "Her testimony plus evidence we've gathered clears you of murder charges, Miss Blackwood. What you did in Wichita was self-defense against known criminals." Isaiah placed a steadying hand on Catherine's shoulder as she absorbed the news. "And him?" Isaiah nodded toward the wounded Alan Pike, being loaded into a prison wagon. "He'll face justice?" "Him, the sheriff, all of them," Freeman confirmed. "The federal judge in Topeka has been building a case against corruption in this county for years. Your stand tonight brought it all to a head." As the sky lightened with dawn's approach, Isaiah surveyed the damage to his home. Broken windows, bullet holes, shattered door, all could be repaired. What mattered was still standing. Catherine turned to him, emotions warring on her face. "I don't know what to say." "You risked everything for me." "Some things are worth the risk," Isaiah replied softly. Marshal Freeman cleared his throat. "Miss Blackwood, we'll need your formal statement in Topeka, and Mr. Washington—" He paused, a hint of respect in his voice. "The governor will want to thank you personally for your assistance in breaking up this ring." As the marshals prepared to leave, Catherine looked back at the ranch house, then at Isaiah. "When this is over—" "What then?" Isaiah gazed out at his land, now bathed in the golden light of sunrise, the Rising Sun Ranch living up to its name once more. "That depends," he said, his eyes meeting hers. "Some journeys end where they begin. Others are just starting." Catherine smiled for the first time since she'd entered his barn, a smile that reached her eyes and transformed her face. "I've never been to Chicago," she said. "Might need a guide for the journey." Isaiah's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining as the sun climbed higher in the Kansas sky. "I hear it's nice in the spring." What an incredible journey we've just shared together, from a chance encounter in a storm to a stand for justice that changed everything. Isaiah and Catherine's story reminds us that courage isn't about being fearless, but about doing what's right even when you're afraid. If this story moved you, if it showed you a piece of American history you never learned in school, please hit that subscribe button now and join the Black Rancher community. Your support allows us to continue uncovering these forgotten tales of courage, dignity, and love on the American frontier. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment with your thoughts or suggestions for future stories you'd like to see told. Thank you for riding with us today through the plains of Kansas and into a tale of justice long overdue. Until next time, remember, history isn't just what's written in books, it's also found in the stories we choose to remember and tell.